I'd love to talk about Margery Kempe. Yes, because I have been I've been researching and reading Margery Kempe since I was 17 years old. I can tell you. One of my professors at Baylor, who actually convinced me to be a medievalist, I remember him clearly saying, Beth, you can't write on Margery Kempe. You have to write on somebody else. He's like, you can't do it. I'm tired of reading Margery Kempe. And then when I went to grad school, my original dissertation proposal was the book of Margery Kempe. And I actually got into medieval sermons by moving out, trying to contextualize Margery Kempe, and I moved to sermons. And so my students will tell you that in almost every class that I am able to, I will teach a section on Margery Kempe, and or all my graduate students are prepared that they got to read Margery Kempe. In fact, we just read Margery Kempe in my graduate seminar this semester. And so my students know that I love Margery Kempe and the book of Margery Kempe. And so in fact, I have her book pretty well memorized. I can go to, it's like, oh, that incident, and I can look it up and see, exactly where it is. So Margery Kempe is a 15th century woman. The reason that she is significant is because her book is the first autobiographical account of a Western woman. And so she's this ordinary she's a upper middle class woman. Her father's actually politically important. He's the mayor of a town called Lynn, and the coast of England, the east coast of England. It's called today, it's King's Lynn. You can still go there today. And she was a woman who had a crisis after she had her first child. She's married. She ends up having 14 kids. Which, says something. But after the birth of her first child, she has what appears to be postpartum depression. And she's rescued from this postpartum depression by Jesus. She has a vision of Jesus coming to her and telling her, essentially forgiving her for all, she's so worried about a sin that she hasn't confessed and everything. And Jesus comes to her and forgives her. And she feels like in Jesus doing that to her, that he's also given her a call, that she is to go out and do for other people what Jesus did for her. And that is bringing this, going out and praying and sharing Jesus, not in the evangelistic sense, but more just the wisdom about Jesus and praying for the souls of the world. And so she takes it upon herself to essentially become this quasi religious figure who independently travels throughout Europe to the Holy Land, pretty much all by herself, and travels back to England and becomes and gets, and she's a very emotional person. Very, I would say she's a person you don't really want to sit next to in church. She's very loud, shows her praise and worship with lots of physical movements and lots of weeping and wailing, because she is so in love with God and what God has done for her, and she wants to share that with everyone around her. So she, I love her. I don't want to be her friend, but I think she's a fascinating. Yeah, and the thing too is that at a time when women were not supposed to be priests, Margery Kempe takes on a lot of that leadership role, and she serves as a pastor, really, and she preaches on the street. She's a street preacher, and she believes that God has called her to do this, and she doesn't let anyone tell her no. So I like Margery Kempe.